Hello guys, welcome to Python scripting tutorial. This video I'm focusing on the concepts of Python scripting. The basic idea would be, right, once you're done with this video, you should be in a position to write Python scripts. And I want to keep this video as precise as possible and as short as possible. And in this short video, I want to give you the more information. Most of you know that Python is one of the popular scripting language. It is used as a scripting and it is also used for web application development. It is widely used across different workloads. So Python is used in cloud computing, Python is used in machine learning, big data, Internet of Things, and it is used everywhere. That is the popularity Python has today. Okay, so let's quickly get started with the coding. So for this tutorial, right, I'm going to use PyCharm IDE, which is one of the very good IDE for developing Python code. Let me quickly show how to install PyCharm. This is from JetBrains company. Let's go and click this download. So we have a couple of options here, the professional version and the community version. A professional version is licensed, and when it comes to community version, it is free and open source. For our tutorial, community version should be more than sufficient. So you guys go and download this. So based on your OS, you just choose these options here like Linux, Mac OS and Windows, and download it, double click and just follow the instructions. You should be able to install PyCharm very easily. When we open PyCharm first time, we get a pop-up like this. From this pop-up, let's go and choose create new project. Let's give a name for this guy. I'm naming this project as PyScripting. Let's expand this interpreter selection. So I'm going with this existing interpreter, which is Python 3. If your machine has multiple Python versions, you can choose the version you like to and go and create this project. Yeah, so the project is created for us, and now we can start coding and we can start learning the fundamentals of Python scripting here. Let me go and create a new Python script file. I'm just giving meaningful name to that. So in this first example, I want to say welcome to Python. I want to print welcome to Python using Python script. Done. So this easy writing a Python code is. This a single line which is print is going to print this message onto the console. So right click here and say run welcome. We got the output saying welcome to Python scripting. So in this code, print is a method which is a built-in method which takes this string as input and it prints this string onto the console. Let's slightly change this code. Instead of directly passing this value inside this method, I want to declare this one as a variable and use that variable part of this print method. In Python, this is how we declare variables. We never define type explicitly. So the Python decides the type of this variable at runtime based on what values we assign to that variable. In this case, right, this is of type string. So implicitly this variable type is converted into string at runtime. Now I want to pass this variable to this print method and print the same message one more time. Let's rerun the code. Yeah, we see the same output again, but instead of directly passing the value into the print method, we are defining a variable and we are passing that variable as input to the print method. Now let's see how to receive inputs from the console. and use that input part of our program. So input is again a built-in method. So we can pass a message which is presented to the user. The message presented to the user is please enter your name, and this input function, right, it waits for the user to provide input at console level, terminal level. That input I want to store inside a variable like this. So here, right, I want to print the message in the particular format. Let's say the name entered as Hari. I want to say something like this: hello Hari, welcome to Python scripting. So in this string, right, here I want to substitute the variable which is entered by the user. That's what my requirement is. So in Python, what we can do is we can use the placeholders like open close curly braces. We can use as many placeholders as possible. This is a string, right? On this string we can call a method called as format, and using this format method we can substitute these placeholders. In this example we have only one placeholder. I'm going to supply that name as a placeholder here. If I enter Hari as a name, this is going to print hello Hari, welcome to Python scripting. Let's run the code and see it. See this? Your program is waiting for the user input. See that? So it says hello Hari, welcome to Python scripting. Let's run it again by giving a different name there. Yeah, it says hello Kamana, welcome to Python scripting. So this is how we can accept inputs from the user. So let's do one more example where I want to take two numbers as an input from the user and I want to add them and I want to print them. I want to put something like this: please enter number 1. Let's copy paste the code. Please enter number 2. Let's name this variable as 2, and the message which we want is sum of 1 and 2 is 1 plus 2, something like that. I'll say result equals 1 plus 2. Sum of placeholder 1 and placeholder 2 is placeholder 3. Now on this string we are calling format, we need to supply these three placeholders to this one. The first one is going to be 1, 2 and the result. So 1 comma 2 comma result. Yeah, now let's run this code and see that. So run welcome. I say 10. It's asking for number 2. Let me say 20 and enter it, but it says sum of 10 and 20 is 1020. Like, this is wrong output, right? The result is completely wrong. Why is that? Because input accepts data from the user from command line, and that input by default is of type string. We're kind of concatenating two strings like 1 plus 2. So 10 is a string and 20 is a string. When we concatenate it, it's going to be 10 20. That is the reason we're not getting this right output. So what we have to do now, we need to convert these strings into integer and use them as part of calculations. We have to do some sort of typecasting. This is of type string now. This should be converted into int. Python has built-in functions like this: int pass@1. So this is going to convert this string as integer. We have to do same thing for 2 as well. Right. So before adding these two, we're converting them into int, then we're adding. Now the output should be proper. Let's execute and check. See, now the output looks perfect. Sum of 10 and 20 is 30. Now let's quickly go through data types in Python. Let's create a separate script for this one. Python file. So Python basically supports numbers, whole numbers and floating point numbers, string, boolean types, list, dictionary, etc. X equals to 10. This is going to be integer, it's a whole number. This one is floating point number. We can't explicitly define data types. We can't say like this. That is invalid syntax. This syntax is absolutely valid in Java and Groovy, etc. But in Python, we should not explicitly define its type. So in case of Boolean, it accepts either true or false, where this T should be in uppercase. In case of false, F should be in uppercase. Now let's talk about string data types. We can define string in single quotes like this. We also can define string in double quotes. We also can define string in triple quotes. So basically we use triple quotes for multi-line text. Let's say Chow Home Cloud, Bangalore. I want something in multi-line, then we basically use triple quotes. Let me print the values and show it. Print X. So this is for single line and this also for single line, and this is going to be a multi-line string. See that? So even if you give spaces in between, right, those spaces are printed as it is when you print that variable. See that? So if you want to use multi-line text, then we basically go for triple quotes. Otherwise we can either go with single quotes or double quotes. Now let's see few methods on string. So this is a string object in Python. On this object we can call methods. See that? We have a function called as upper. It's going to convert the text into uppercase. See that? It's completely converting each and every character in the string into uppercase. So likewise, we have lots of functions, lots of methods. Okay, let's go and check the other methods available on the string. So whenever we use dot on an object, right, in PyCharm we get this autocomplete option. We can scroll and check for the methods we want to use, and we can use part of a logic. There is something called as is alpha, is a number completely, right, is lowercase, join, lower. So likewise we have lots of methods on this string object. Let's say we want to split string into multiple strings based on space as a delimiter. So we have a method called as split. We're calling that method on the string object. It is going to split your object into multiple tokens. Let's access that output using a loop. So this variable is going to contain multiple string objects. Wherever there is a space, it's going to split there. So string 1, string 2 and string 3, it's going to have 3 entries in this X actually. So I want to use a for loop. So this way I will introduce the syntax of for loop as well. I want to use for loop and access all the entries in that list. Yeah, so this is the syntax of for loop in Python. For, this is a variable in x. In this case, x is containing multiple entries of string. This colon, right, that says that is the beginning of a block. When you say enter, see, if you see this, there is some indentation. So in Python, it doesn't support something like this. It doesn't support the braces, curly braces, which says beginning of a block and ending of a block. It completely depends on the indentation. If there is any block, we open the block using a colon, and in the next line, if we are giving some indentation, giving some space and writing the instructions, all those instructions are part of this particular block. So in this case, data is a variable. You can choose any arbitrary name you like. It can be ABC, XYZ. So what happens in this case? We're going to loop through all the entries in this, and in every iteration, the element specific to that iteration is kept in this variable. Now using that print, I want to print the output. So let's execute this code. See that it's printing Java home cloud as 3 different strings in this case. You want to have multiple statements in this for loop. You can go to next line, and using same indentation, you can put multiple lines there. If I say print A, for example, print B, for example, so all these instructions are part of the same for loop. If you want to write a statement outside the for loop, then see, I'm getting back my indentation to 0 again, 1 again here. Right. So these instructions are part of this for loop. This is the beginning, and how we decide where it ends based on the indentation. And this is not inside a for loop. This is like arbitrary statement which is along with your for loop and this statement here. Let's execute that. See that? So for every iteration, it's also printing A, B because it's inside the loop, and this line is printed only once because it is not inside the for loop. This is a syntax of using for loop in Python. Now let's talk about slicing concept in Python. Using slicing, we can extract a certain characters from a string. Even we can extract certain entries from a list or set. So now let's focus on how to use slicing on a string. Let's say we have a string called as unhappy with a variable x. I want to extract the text called as happy in this case. That can be easily done with help of slicing like this. This is the syntax used for slicing. So specify different arguments like from where you want to begin and where you want to end. So in this case, you can think this string as a list of characters where index begins with 0. So I want, this is 0, this is 1, and I want to text, I want the string from index 2 onwards. So in this case, right, it actually mean we are slicing this string x. We want to begin from index 2 till end. I am not mentioning the ending index because I want this string up to end of it. Let me print this slicing as it is here and show the output. I see that. So it is actually getting a portion of text from this string. So slicing is helpful for extracting certain characters from the string. Let's say I want to get characters from x index till y index, then we can supply this ending index also. Let's say if I say 2 to 4 and execute that, so this is 0, this is 1, and h is at 2, and A is at 3 and P is at 4. But in this case, right, the ending index is exclusive. That's the reason it's printing characters from index 2 till 3. We also can supply the third argument in this case like this. We call it as a step. To understand it better, let me change this text. Let's say we're taking a string itself, but inside string we're putting numbers. Let's say I want to print alternative numbers in this. So by default, if I don't mention anything, that is start from 0. If I don't mention anything again in the second place, continue till end and move one step forward at a time. But if I move one step forward at a time, it is going to print the text as it is, but my requirement is I want to print the alternative numbers in this case. What I can do is I'll say move 2 steps forward at a time. So it's going to print all the alternative numbers to us. So likewise, we also can supply negative numbers here like this, -1. So what exactly it mean, when you supply this step as -1, it's going to move backward. Likewise, it's going to start from the end, stop at the beginning, meaning it's going to move from ending till beginning by moving one step backward. This is going to reverse this complete string for us. See that it's completely reversing the string. See how easy and how simple the syntaxes are in Python for doing complex things as well. If you see, if you want to do same thing in Java, we need little more code to get it done. Now let's talk about list in Python. List is a data structure in Python. List stores collection of elements where each and every element is associated with the index. In Python, list supports having different types of data. In case of Java, we call it as a homogeneous type, where it maintains only a same type of data. In Python, we can mix and match with different types of data into a single list. Let's create a new script for this list demo. So this is empty list in Python, the variable name, and this is the syntax of your list, but this list is empty. What we can do is we also can initialize the data at the time of declaring this list like this. As I said, right, in list we can set different types of data. See, we are setting whole numbers and we are putting a string there and the decimal point values. Okay, let's see how to loop through these entries and print the elements one by one. And in this list, right, every entry is associated with the index like this. So this first entry here with index 0, this one index 1, this one index 2, and this one index 3. So if you get element based on index 3, we're going to get this one. If you get element based on index 2, this is what we're going to get there. So let me first show how to loop through the entries and print all the entries there. So for x in data, so in this case, right, data is the list. We can always loop through that list like this in simple way, and this is a variable which holds the element in each iteration and print it. So this is going to loop 4 times. First time this is going to have the first element, this is 1. Second time second element, and so on. Let's execute and check the code. Yeah, so this is the output, and 1 2 a and 10.4 is the output in this case. And to add more details to this list data structure in Python, it accepts duplicates. We're adding 2 twice. Let's execute and see the output. We're getting 2 twice. So list doesn't eliminate any duplicates. It maintains all the values as it is. That's point number 1. And point number 2 is list is ordered collection, in sense the order in which we define. While retrieving also we get the entries in the same order. That's the second point to know. And the third point is list is mutable, meaning we can always update the list. We can add entries, we can remove entries likewise. See this list is already defined. After that we have options to add entries like this. Data dot append, let me say 34 in this case. So what append does is, append is a method which is defined on the list object. It is going to append this entry to the end of the list. Let's run the code. See, we can see this 34 added to the end of the list. We also can insert element at a specific point, at a specific index like this. We can say data dot insert, which takes the index plus the object we want to insert at that specific index. Let's say index is 0 and object is Python. Let's execute this. Yeah, see that we have Python at index 0 and remaining entries are pushed to their next indexes. So likewise we also can say delete like this. Data of 0, for example, I am deleting the entry at index 0 by using this del keyword here. Let's run that. Yes, obviously we're adding Python. In the next line we are deleting it, and when we loop through, obviously this Python should not appear in the output. Those are the basic operations on list. Like string, right, list also supports the slicing. Let's see a few examples on slicing a list. Let me say print. So data, obviously it has three inputs. One is the beginning index. If it is left empty, it begins from 0. The next one is the ending index, where you want to stop, and the other one is the step, how many steps you want to move at a time. So now all three, I'm not providing any inputs, then it mean it begin with first index, stop at ending index, and move one step ahead. Those are the default values actually. If I print this, it's going to print all the entries in this. Yeah, obviously, right? So let's say I want to get only indexes, or I want to get only entries from index 0 till 2. I can do like this: start at 0, end at index 2, and run this. Yeah, see that this ending index is exclusive. The concept is same even in case of string. So always the ending index is exclusive. If you want to move, let's say 2 steps at a time, I'll just say empty, meaning start at 0, stop at the ending, and move 2 steps at a time. It's going to give us alternative entries in this list. So these concepts remains same even in list and even in string. Now let's talk about set in Python. A set is one more data structure in Python, which is almost similar to list, and I will explain the differences between list and set also. First, let's play with few examples. I'm slightly changing the same example here. In case of set, right, instead of square braces, we use curly braces. So this tells your Python this is a set. Okay, and let me just print the data as it is for now. Everything remains same, like it also has indexes here, and let me execute the code and show you a few things. See that first of all, first point to note, set doesn't accept duplicates. We have 2 twice and 1 2 is eliminated in the output. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, set is unordered. It won't maintain the order. We are defining these values like 1 2 8 10.4 and 2, but when you get the output, those values are not in the same order. It is unordered. Of course we can use loop on this set like this for x in data, and let me say print of x. Execute that. Yeah, of course we can do the same thing like we did on list. Set doesn't support index based operations like your list, meaning we can't say like this: data of 0, for example, equals a. Let's run the code and see that it's giving an exception because set doesn't support indexes. We can't do any operations based on indexes. This concept is same even in case of Java. But set is mutable in sense Once it is defined, we have options to delete entries and we also have options to add entries, but not based on the index. Let's say if I want to add an entry, we can say data.add. See, it's not having index as an argument here, directly element. Let me say, for example, Amazon Web Services. I want to add a text called as AWS here. Let's execute and see the output. Yeah, it's added. But as I said, order we can't predict in this case of a set. Coming to slicing, right? It also works similar to your list and string. I don't think so. We should do some examples again using slicing here. So coming to set, it is mutable. We can modify it. It is unordered and it doesn't accept duplicates. Those are the points we should remember, and we also understood those points for list as well. Now let's see how dictionary works in Python. Dictionary is a data structure where it maintains data as a key and values. This is equivalent to map in Java. Let's create a new script for this map example. Okay, and coming to the declaration, we declare dictionary using open close curly braces. The syntax is same in case of list, but in case of dictionary, every entry is going to have a key and value, something like this. Let's say apple, and let's say its cost per kg, for example. So in this case, right, we are again using curly braces, of course, but each entry is a key and a value. So in this case, apple is a text which is a key and 30 is the value. So likewise, we can have multiple entries where each entry is a combination of key and value. Let me show how to iterate through the entries of this map. So it's very easy when it comes to Python. So for, let's say, x in data dot keys. If you want to iterate through keys, there is a direct method called as keys, which returns all the keys for you. And let me say print that entry. Let's execute this code. It should print all the keys, which is going to be apple, oranges and grapes here. Yeah, in the same style, if you want to print all the values, what we can do is, again we can make a for loop. Let's say y in data dot values. So this is going to return the list of values for us, and again I'm putting print statement and I'm printing those values there, and let's execute this. See that we're able to get only keys, we're also able to get only values. So likewise we can do operations in different ways. We also can get the value based on a key. For example, I want to say I want to get the value for apple, and data is the dictionary and the key in this case is apple, right? So what happens, it takes this key and returns back its associated value, which is 30 in this case. See that this is also possible, and even dictionaries are mutable in sense we can update, we can modify dictionaries. Add a new entry to my dictionary. What I can do is data of, I mean the dictionary variable name of, let's say mangoes equals this one. So in this case, this is the key and this is the value, and it's going to add this new entry to that map. Let me try to get the key and see whether we are able to access that value there. Yeah, it's perfectly working. We also can have nested dictionaries in a sense, right? In a dictionary, again we can have a dictionary. For example, let's say we are representing employee data like this, employee, let's say name, sorry, let's say we have one more key called as skills. So that entry, that's value is a list here, maybe AWS, Ansible, for example, Docker, right? So we also can have complex or nested objects inside dictionary. Let me do one thing. Let me do a for loop here. Print that entry. See that we can do that. So if you want to access a specific entry in this map, sorry, in this dictionary, what I can do, emp is the object, dictionary object, and skills is the key, right? So that is going to return back the complete list here. Let me print and show that. Correct. Let's say I want to access only a specific entry. Let's say I want to access a second element in that. So after skills, I can say 1, index 1, it means it's going to give me the entry at index 1. So likewise, dictionary can be a nested. It can be a nested dictionary or nested list like this, and we can access a specific entry from that complete nested dictionary also. So those are the details about dictionary. We covered list, we covered set, we also covered dictionary. The next important concept is exception handling in Python. So it's very important to manage exceptions when those exceptions arises in the program. Let's go and create a new script for this exception handling example. So basically, what is an exception? So as a exception is an event which occurs at the program execution time, which completely stops the execution of a code. For example, we are reading a file and for some reasons we're not able to open that file. So that can be an example for an exception. Let's say we have a code to open DB connection and for some reasons we're not able to connect to DB. This is one more example for an exception. Let's go through with a few examples here. The basic structure looks like this. We have a try block. We generally have a except block, and we also can have a finally block. So when you want to keep these blocks empty, generally we use pass a keyword in Python. Otherwise it can cause compile time errors for us. Okay, this is a basic structure of exception. We need to put the code which causes exception in try block, and handling that exception should be done in the except block. If something goes wrong in try block, the control jumps to except block. So this must have the code to handle that exception. And finally is a block which is executed always. Generally finally block is used for cleaning up the resources which are opened by the code. For example, we are opening a DB connection and we're trying to access some data from DB, and once we're done with that, right, we want to close that connection. We need some block which is executed always. Maybe sometimes there might be exceptions, there might not be exceptions. Both the cases we want to close that connection. That is where finally block is little helpful. Let's see a few examples on this. So I'm declaring a very simple dictionary here. This very simple dictionary, and I want to print some entry in this dictionary. So I'm saying this one as a. For example, I'm trying to access a dictionary with key a. Okay, and let me put a print statement here. So as I said, we also can have a finally block. Let me just put finally called. Okay, so now in this case, right, there won't be any exception because This code doesn't have anything which causes an exception. Let me run this code. Yeah, got it now. This code executed successfully. Now because of that, it didn't get into this exception block. And finally, as I said, it is executed always. In that manner, this final block is executed. Let's try to access a key which is not present in the dictionary. In this case, this is going to cause an issue. When there is an exception, obviously the code under except block is executed, and even in case of exceptions, finally block is again executed. Let's save this, let's execute the code and check. Yeah, see that one, because this is causing an exception, this code executed, and finally anyways always executed for us. In except block, we also can explicitly mention what type of exception we want to catch here. In this case, right, this is a key error. Now this block is going to handle only key errors. It won't handle any other errors because this is explicitly defined for this kind of exception. Yeah, see that the code executed successfully. In case if you want to handle different types of exception, what we can do is we can also mention multiple except blocks here, for example like this. So except, let's say, zero division error. So the block always must begin with the colon there, correct? So this is going to cause a key error, correct? So when something goes wrong here, then the control immediately jumps to this catch and it flows down. So in case of key error, it gets into this. In case of zero division error, it gets into this. So that is how the hierarchy works in this case. Let me comment this one because I want to raise a zero division error and I want to show what is going to be the output for this. See that it's currently getting into this zero division error, and obviously finally is always called. So those are the basics of exception handling in Python. So we also have concepts like creating custom exceptions. We also can programmatically raise exceptions. As I said, I want to keep this video as simple as possible, and the main focus is writing Python scripts. So creating custom exceptions and all those things might be required when we develop some web-based or complex enterprise applications. Let's quickly see control statements in Python. Using control statements, we can control the program flow execution. Let's quickly see a few examples on control statements. For control statements, I have created a separate file here. Let's say we have two numbers like this, x equals to 10 and y equals to 20. I will show how to use a if condition. If the condition, basically beginning of the block, which is going to be the colon, and with indentation the lines we want to put inside that condition. So here what I want to do is I want to say if x is greater than y, print, I want to say x is greater than y. So this block of code is executed only when this condition is true. Okay, I need to run this separately. Now see that there is no output because this condition is false, correct? So likewise we can use just if conditions, or we also can use if and else conditions like this. So I want to say y is greater than x in this case. This is a simple if else condition. In case of this condition, right, we also can have something complex which says condition 1 and condition 2 condition 1 or condition 2, those kind of complex conditions also can be placed here. We also can have if else ladder. For example, we have something like marks. Let me take out completely. If marks greater than equals 60, print first class, else if marks greater than equals 50, second, else if marks greater than equals 35, third class, for example, else print failed. So this is what I want to build using if else ladder. So let's declare a variable called as marks here. Now let's build that if else ladder. If marks greater than equals 60, first class, sorry, it should be else if marks greater than equals 50, so print second class. Again, it should be else if. In Java it is else if, in Python it is elif. Marks greater than or equals 35, so print third class, and anything else, right? I want to say print failed. Okay, so this is a very simple example for if else ladder. So run the code, third class. So because it's coming under this, it's third class. If I put 15 marks here, obviously it should be a failed. We can take out one in this case. Yeah, the next topic is loops in Python. We already discussed about for loops. Let's go and discuss about while loops in Python. Let's say I want to print numbers from 1 to 10. What I can do is I'm initializing a variable with value 1. I can use this while loop. While data is less than equals 10, I say print data. So when it goes to the next iteration, by the time I want to increment the value of data, Python doesn't support increment operators like this. We have to use something like this: data equals data plus 1. Yeah. So what happens in this case? We are beginning with the loop and we're comparing that data is less than equals 10. Okay, then if it is true, it prints the data and we're incrementing that data by 1. Next time data becomes 2, 3, 4 and so on. When data becomes 11, the condition fails and the loop breaks, loop stops. Yeah, of course. So this is how we basically use while loop. Now let's focus on continue and break statements. So we'll see few examples to understand better what is continue statement and what is a break statement. So continue stops the iteration and break completely stops the loop. So let's go and see that with an example. We have a list like this. The requirement is I want to multiply all the numbers with each other and I want to come up with a output. That's the logic. So I can go with a for loop for x in data. Okay, and the requirement is, right, I want to do something like 1 into 2, which is 2, 2 into 0, and its output into 5, its output into 10. So for that, what I want to do is I want to take one variable called as some a equals to 1, a equals to 1, and my logic is going to be something like this. A equals a into x. Yeah. Now so initially a is 1, a 1 into 1 is 1, and then 1 into 2 is 2, then 2 into 0 is 0, and likewise. So this is the requirement. Let me just after completion of the loop, let me print the value of a using format. I can use that pass it value there. Okay, execute. See that the value of a is 0. So why it has become 0 is it contains 0, anything into 0 is 0. So what I want to do, if it is 0, we want to skip that one and proceed with next one. So inside for loop, I want to make a condition saying if that value is 0, I want to say continue. So meaning if the value is equivalent to 0, continue. In sense, stop the current iteration and continue with 5. So that is how continue statement basically works. It stops the current iteration and it'll make the loop to go with the next iteration. Now let's execute the code and see. See, previously it was 0, now it's not 0 because in case of 0 we're not calculating that 0 part of a logic. So because of that we're not getting 0 as an output here. This is how the continue statement basically works. Next, let's see how to use a break statement. This is a sample data again. So in this sample data, I want to search for an entry. Let's say search equals to 0. So I want to search for 0 in this list. So again, we can go with the for loop through all the elements in this list and compare its value with this search value. If it is matching, we simply say we found it, otherwise we will say we didn't find it. So the code looks like this: if search equals x, print value is found. Okay, and let's execute this one. So we obviously get an output. See, we can still optimize this code. Let's say I have a list of 1 lakh entries and my entry is found at third place or fourth place. So once we got what we need, we can stop the loop rather than proceeding further, because it can cause performance issues, correct? Whenever we're done with our requirement, we can say stop there. So that is what I want to do here using break. So whenever we found our matching text, matching value, we are printing it and we are simply saying break. So when break is executed, it completely stops the loop. In case of continue, it only stops the current iteration. Now let's see how to define methods in Python. So basically using methods, we can have reusable code. So if you have some reusable code, instead of copy pasting same code across where all we need it, we can put that inside a function, and this function can be invoked wherever you want to reuse that logic. Let's see one basic example of defining a function. So we use a def keyword and I want to say add x comma y. So the block always begins with colon. The logic goes into this. Let's say I want to add these two numbers, x plus y, and I want to print that result of x and y is this output. So using format, So first placeholder should be x, second one should be y, and third one should be result. Okay, so this is a simple function which does addition of two numbers. So where all you need that function, you can call the function, you can pass your values into that. Let's execute this. Yeah, we can call this function any number of times. Let's say I want to pass again 13 and minus 15 in this case. Execute that. Okay, functions also can return values back to the caller, something like this. Return result. So rather than printing this logic here, let's say I want to return this result back, and caller decides what he want to do with this return type. Okay, and when caller calls this method, so it's going to return back the results for you. So what we can do is, I can say I can define a variable and catch the value which is returned by this function, and I can use my own logic to print it like this. Correct. So Python also supports some default values like this. If I say 5, x equals to 5, y equals to 5, it means if I call this add function a method without passing any arguments like this, see now I can call this method without passing any arguments there. If I don't pass any arguments, and x is going to be 5 default and y also 5 default. See that, and you can pass both the arguments, and even you can pass only a specific argument like this. I am passing only 10. In this case we are overriding the default value 5, so x becomes 10, and we are not passing y, and that remains default, which is 5. So 10 plus 5, the result should be 15. So if you want to pass both, right, you can even pass both. Y equals to, let's say, 10 again. This time the output should be 20. Of mandatory arguments, you don't initialize the default values. If you want to keep certain things optional, right, you can initialize those values at the time of defining the method. So this is all about this video, where I'm trying to cover the basic fundamental scripting concepts, and the more advanced concepts I'll be adding in the later videos to the same playlist. Thank you.